coming online earlier today. I'm always trying to get the time right with coming online. Give me a bit here. Give me a bit. I want to make sure that I see my chat as I start. Okay. So I want to start off by reading these lyrics because this is a song that came into my head today. Now, I'm not gonna really be the girl who sings on YouTube because that's just like not my thing. But I understand why people do it because songs do come into your head and you're like, you know why they came into your head, right? This is Redemption Song by Bob Marley. So the lyrics, old pirates, yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. But my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help me sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. So it's funny because there was this thing that came to me. This situation that I have been personally battling, I've said from the very beginning that this is slavery. It's not just mental slavery, it's slave labor. And it predominantly targets people of color. It predominantly targets people of color. It was placed, the drugs were placed in the community, etc., etc., etc. And it's so crazy because I've never had any involvement in that kind of a lifestyle and I still end up here. And with everything that I've gone through this massive spiritual awakening, and I know I'm not the only person who's gone through a spiritual awakening during this, this process of persecution. And I had to free my mind. And it's almost like, regaining a part of yourself that you didn't even know was there. And I am positive after my personal experiences, I am positive that, after the way that I feel about it is after slavery was abolished, they put the drug trade in place to kind of keep people in place and make sure that people don't move. I look at, how I've tried to get help. I've looked at, just so many parts of this entire journey, how enslaving it is. It's modern day slavery. And we have the ability to beat these things, but we choose, a lot of us, to continue to turn to a religion that is not innately ours. Christianity is not innately our religion. And, it further confirms it, all the Jesus propaganda that is constantly pushed my way. Whenever I talk about spirituality, whenever I talk about, our ancestors and what we can do. And there's been like a mass awakening where people have kind of just come to the conclusion, a lot of people have come to the conclusion that they can tap into the spirit world and they can get assistance that way and things can move in their favor. And I really feel like it's just the time that we are supposed to be breaking out of whatever bondages it is that's really shackled us. And, you know, I'm not sure if this is just a cultural mass awakening and if it's intended to be a cultural mass awakening, or if it is, you know, a human awakening. I don't know. I don't have all these answers, but I can tell you I see the similarity in people that are waking up. I see the similarity in people that are having these crazy experiences. And most of us are very young with very clearly very old souls. Hold on, let me get this. See how much battery I got. I think I should be okay with my battery for a bit. Yeah, we have, you know, a lot of us are waking up. It's a very bizarre experience. I know for myself, it took a while to walk me down this road. I've talked about it before. I was very much of a mindset. I had a very, I want to say like a corporate mind, not a corporate, what like a secular mindset, I would call it. I had faith slowly, because like I said, I had lost a lot of faith through a battle that I went through when I was younger, and my faith was restored. And so sometimes I'm very sympathetic to people who don't believe in God at all, because I understand the things that they've gone through have pushed them to think that there is no God. I understand that. You know, my experience with everything that I've gone through, it's like God's been the strongest force in everything that has happened. A lot of the pain that I was supposed to endure, a lot of the torture people tried to inflict on me was drowned out because God was there every second of, like, everybody who met me met God and they didn't know. Every single person who met me, their lives have been affected and they don't know, because where God usually walks with me, whenever I'm in the presence of someone who means me no good, she hovers over them instead. She no longer hovers over me, she's over them. And sometimes it's a bit distracting as people talk, and I have to like focus really hard on staying focused on like looking in their eyes and like not looking behind them or above them. But you know, I leave that interaction way more nervous for them than I am for whatever they're trying to do to me. I almost don't even think about it. I remember, you know, the morning that I drove over to John Ferrer's shop. I still remember it was like 10 a.m. I made sure I got the kids to school and everything, and I was upset. I was very upset. I was crying. I was shaking. I hadn't eaten for at least 2 days. This was a very onset of being like aggressively gang stalked. And I remember she told me, she's like, you're gonna go down to his shop. And I'm like, what? She's like, you have to go see him in person. And I'm like, I don't even know if this person's a murderer. And she's like, don't be dramatic, just get dressed and you have to go. And I was like, okay, well, we're gonna go. And I remember him sitting in the car with me, and I remember going in the shop, and then I remember sitting in his car, and I was thinking, I mean, I don't want to scare anybody. Like, you know, mother doesn't just hurt people because they're in my presence or anything. Like, I don't want people to feel like I'm scared to go around this person, because of course not. I've been around people my entire life, you know. But I remember in particular being in the shop on more than one occasion. I think I went there maybe 2 or 3 times. The first time I went, and maybe at least 2 times after that. One time I think to pick up a poster, and the other time I don't know what it was, but anyway, I remember going there, and I remember seeing her drift off in the back. And I was like, oh boy. You know, that was what what time of year was that? Maybe 2022, September, October, end of September, October 2022. And it really just goes to show you need to be careful who you're around, because you don't know what energy people are carrying with them. And you don't know. It's like, it's when I talk about people isolating themselves from these people, isolating yourself. I thought it was isolating yourself because maybe they're carrying energy and they're going to affect you. And I realized, like, that can't happen. That can't happen to me. But it's because of the work that they did, being around them with the work that they did, and making sure that the spirits have time to do what it is that they want to do. That's why you're isolating yourself away from people. It's not necessarily because, and it could also be for people as well, right? Like, I can't speak for everybody. Everybody's spirit team is different, your connection is different, your spiritual practice is different. And I always say spirituality is individual. They're trying to make it like religion, where it's like one size fit all. It's not one size fit all. It is not one size fit all. What works for one person and how they're loved by different spirits, how they're protected and how they're guided and treated is very different from another person. And it could be the same spirit, it's just different ways of interacting. A mistake I might make, my spirit guides might say, let me show you why you shouldn't do that again. Not even get mad, not even reprimand, but somebody else, it might be a fatal mistake for them. So you gotta really take this journey yourself. Tap in yourself. Spirituality is here for everybody. You tap in yourself, you figure out things yourself, you ask your spirit guides, you ask for the help, you ask for whatever you need, and then they guide you. A lot of times people think that guidance comes from just a spiritual teacher or just being psychic or just getting a download. God will hold your hand, and anything, when the message has to come, it cannot be stopped. It cannot be blocked. They already know how human beings are. They're omnipresent. They could be everywhere at once. They already know. If you worship one God, this God is not even just in your country, it is everywhere. So they already know, oh, they tamper with your mail, so we can't do it that way. Oh, they're on your phone, we can't send it that way, or they're this and we can't do it that way. They already know that. You'll see a pamphlet blowing in front of a restaurant that you never go to with like something on it, and there's your message. It hits you, it clicks, it jumpstarts another idea. So spirituality is personal. Do not let people take that personal aspect from you by trying to control you and dictate you. And if they can't do it directly, they'll do it through somebody else. Don't let anybody take that from you. That is yours. The relationship is yours to develop. It's not even just lifelong, it's lifetimes. It's lifetimes. When I awakened and when I met my spirit guide, I knew her. I just knew that I knew her. I just knew that this was not new. This wasn't like some pick of the litter. This was, I've been here before. I've done this kind of thing before. Even the way I did it was telling me, like, spiritually how old I am. I felt in every way, it was like this. It wasn't learning, it was just, hands are just doing, hands just knowing, just feeling it, just feeling my way through. There are some people who do that in life as well. They feel their way through crowds of people. They feel their way through people. They don't necessarily even listen. They just meet you, they feel you, and they know. They know, you know, their parameters with you. But it's crazy, you know, because I think to myself sometimes, two things. The first being, it's very easy to think you're alone because you can't see them. That's a gift that you can see, right? So it does make you feel as if you're alone in this journey, that you're suffering and you're suffering alone and nobody's there with you. And that is very false. They are very there. And during my journey, when I was crying out about, like, I'm suffering and this is happening, they were like, you don't even know what suffering is. And I've come so far to know that I don't know what suffering is. So they are showing me now what suffering is. What I went through was an initiation. Initiations are rough. I remember thinking to myself during the process, like, what happened to like the stories of like, you know, meeting a shaman and going into the woods for 20 days when you turned 18 and meeting your spirit animal out there and whatever. What is this 2 years of being gang stalked? This is crazy. However, I feel like everything that I encountered, everything that I learned or remembered, because you are awakening to who you are. There is a quote on my WhatsApp, and it says that the paradox of, what did it say? It said something like the paradox of being alive is that you are learning to be what you are, or something like that. I don't know. Let me look it up because it's gonna bother me. And then I'm gonna remember it later on and then be like, oh, I gotta go online and talk about it again. You are becoming that which you always were, or something. It's like some, I guess, kind of famous quote. Anyway, I can't find it. I don't want to waste the time, but it's basically just saying that you're discovering yourself. You're discovering who you always were. I have found in this journey that absolutely nothing that I've gone through has been by chance. Absolutely none of the suffering, none of the pain, nothing was even a mistake. Every time I get tempted to call it a mistake, I realized it wasn't a mistake. It was something that I had to learn from. It was an experience that I had to draw from. And sometimes the quickest way for you to learn something is through regret. The quickest way to make sure you don't repeat something. Sometimes this lesson is too important, and the quickest way to learn it is through loss, is through regret, is through pain. And so I had to experience things over and over, and it was like, this is not gonna happen again. I get it, I get the point. And I also get why spirit doesn't necessarily just sit there and talk to you all day and say, well, this is how you should do this and this is how you should do that, and in the beginning this and in the beginning that. First of all, that's not how you develop a relationship. A relationship comes from both parties. They reach out to you, you keep reaching out to them, you ask for guidance, you build it into your daily routine. It's not just in the morning I wake up and I pray. It's also in the middle of the day we're in communication. I'm about to go outside today. Please cover me. Mama, I'm about to go outside. I'm really not trying to deal with these people today. That's the day where it's crazy quiet, crazy normal. Where I'm walking outside and it's like, wow, this is the old world. This is peaceful. It's happened for me. If you don't see them yourself physically with your eyes, you will believe that they're not there, and they're the ones carrying you through the entire thing. I was just lucky enough. They made it obvious for me. They showed me every step of the way. They made it step by step by step. They made it obvious. It's us. We're here. We're here. I could feel their energy. I could feel them in my home. I see them coming in and out. I see them do things around me. People around me see it as well. So it's not like I'm isolated in that. It's like people are seeing things happen. I pray for things and they make it obvious. You know, I used to cover my home in prayer, and then I started covering the neighborhood, and then I started covering the street. And then it was like at a certain point, the neighbors didn't want gang stalkers coming in there anymore. And the gang stalkers had to park across the street, just have their cars across the street looking into the neighborhood because the neighbors didn't want them there anymore. They were threatening them. My neighbors started getting aggressive like from December of 2022. I mean, one neighbor didn't recognize my car because there was one car I always drove, and I went to a neighbor's house to pick up my kid, and they came outside and they were aggressively circling my car, and they're like, "Do you live here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I live over there at this house," and they're like, "Oh, okay, sorry." So they were already patrolling the neighborhood because they were seeing what was going on, and when I started praying on the street, cars were flipping over on my street. It was making the news. I'm telling you, the subdivision across from us burnt down to the ground. Nothing was left of that. That was to the studs. On a day with no wind, nobody still can say, how did this fire happen? They can't, like, to me, and I remember I saw it, and you know, there's particular things that happen. It's like energy was sent to me, and then the energy was sent back, and then I was seeing things happen to them. So I used to smell gas in my house all the time, and I have a gas stove or the rough-in for a stove, and every time I'd look at the rough-in for the stove, and it's like, we haven't even connected this thing yet. It's like a new build house, haven't even connected it, and I'm smelling gas, and I'm concerned about this at the same time, but I'm like, okay, you know, it is what it is. And then the house beside me blew up. There was one time where it almost looked like we were almost gonna have a flood inside of my spare bedroom, my fourth bedroom, and then that didn't happen. And then right after, the subdivision beside me blew up. So it has just literally been one thing after the other thing after the other thing that has really just led me down this path of like, by the way, whatever games you guys are playing, kindly do not find yourself in any kind of situation with me today. Don't start your bullshit with me today. Do not. I'm in no mood. I'm in a pleasant mood. Don't start. Be safe. Be safe. Find something safe to do. This is not safe. I don't care if you believe in witchcraft. You'll believe in it. As I was saying, a lot of things were occurring, and it was occurring in a way that was literally like poetic. It was in a way where I could not deny to myself. Hold on, let me see how I can fix this situation here. What does this stupid button do? Anyway, I couldn't deny to myself what was going on. I remember there was a particular incident where there was a car that flipped over on the road. And when it made the news in my city, there were different people that were saying, I live in this area, I live down the street, and believe me, this was not pretty. And I'm talking about like old people, people that obviously didn't even live in the neighborhood, in the vicinity, in the community, none of the above. Just in a situation where it's just like, I don't know. And at the time, it's like, I'm just waking up. And so there's a lot of things. There are certain things I know. There are certain things I knew about cleaning my energy. There are certain things I knew about, you know, getting rid of energy that's not mine when people send me negative energy. But I don't know how to make a person's car flip. I don't know how to make like a building burn down. Like, I just asked for when first it was my house, and then they were still circling around my house and driving on my street. Then it was like my neighborhood, my subdivision, and then it was like, listen, the whole street. We're gonna need the whole street. So these people, it's like the way our street was, it's like you're only going down that street if you live there. So it's like just trying to protect the neighborhood as much as possible. And seeing those kinds of things, it's like even if I didn't see them myself, I just knew. I just knew that there were forces there with me, protecting me. But the other part of it is that I called in that protection. And even though I didn't necessarily believe in these things when I first heard about them, to be honest with you, I thought, listen, spiritual people are crazy. I don't know what they're talking about. Like, these conversations are insane. Certain parts I could take, but other parts I'm like, this is deep. Like, I wasn't ready to go that deep. I wasn't ready to go that far. And the entire time, it's like my spirit team has been so gentle with me. They've been accommodating, but it's like you have to also ask for that help yourself. You have to ask for the help. I think there have been people who are, and there always will be, there are people who are spiritually arrogant. They think that they know everything. And it's not necessarily because they are necessarily bad people or whatever, but, you know, people become very arrogant about because they've accomplished certain things or they've done certain things, and you really have to wonder, you have to look at, like, have you done things to people with spiritual protection, people who are going to put up a fight, or have you done things because you've been a bully and nobody has, people maybe even have spiritual connections that they haven't called in, that they haven't recognized, and so it's left them in a situation that is fixable but helpless. And the entire time I've always said that gang stalking, surviving gang stalking, is mastering yourself. You are going almost on your personal shamanic journey of discovering yourself. You have to build yourself. One of the lyrics from this song said, I'm going to read it again. It said, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. And that's exactly what's happened with me. Is that it's not that I've ever been a weak person. It takes a strong person to build a business. It takes a strong person to be a single parent, to be very responsible, to deny themselves a lot of things in order to be able to provide for their family, to provide a good life on their own. Like, I've been a person that anything that stands in the way of my personal goal of building myself up, of building a legacy for my children, it's not welcome and it's immediately shut down. That doesn't matter if it's girls' trips with other people. That doesn't matter if it's going out clubbing, partying, whatever it is. If it takes away from the goal that I have now, if it takes away from, you know, money that I want to spend or invest or whatever I want to do, it's been a quick and easy no. And it's been, this determination has been in me from a very young age. It's like I woke up with this thing in me where it's like, I want to achieve. I want to, you know, leave a legacy for myself, leave a legacy for my children, leave something for my kids. So this is when I am being attacked. It's like my spiritual team takes it personally because they've been walking with me this entire time, holding my hands. They've been walking with me from a very young age. I bought my first house at 23 years old. 22 technically, just shy of 23. It closed in July, turned 23 in September. That's when I bought my first house. I bought it by myself, no asking anybody for anything, no loans, just all extreme discipline and saving every penny. And at that time, and I was really young at that time, and I think I stopped clubbing like maybe like a year or two before, but I remember before that when I was actually saving for the house, they used to make fun of me. These girls used to call me Miss $20 dress because I just wouldn't spend past a certain amount on clothes, shoes, on anything. It was like at sacrifice to myself, I had to get this done because this was very important to me. So it's like I've always had this drive in me to be very hardworking, you know, and do things the right way because I hate headaches, I hate stress, I hate looking over my shoulders. So it's like I'm gonna stay at a job past when I want to actually be at the job, past when the job is exhausting me. I'm gonna put up with a lot of stuff that I don't want to put up with because you know what, I got to get it done. And if I'm off of a job for 6 weeks, that kind of takes me off of, you know, my saving schedule, or, you know, when I want to purchase, which might be in the spring or might be whenever, you know, whenever I've timed it. So it's been that kind of situation with me, and it's taken so long to get to gang stalking to realize that this legacy that I'm building, I haven't been building it alone. You know, I knew that I was getting spiritual help along the way with certain things. There were things I was scared about. There were things I was like, okay, how am I going to do this part? How am I going to get my credit together? How am I going to, you know, build up this, etc. The same things anybody goes through when they're thinking about buying a house. Like, how am I going to get the down payment, the this, the that? How am I going to get approved, etc., etc. And every step of the way, you know, there's always been help, there's always been assistance, sometimes whether or not I remember to ask or not. because I wasn't always at a point where I was asking, but I was always receiving the help. So getting to this point where people wanted to trample on everything that my ancestors had given to me, had gifted to me, had pushed me to getting to this point, I realized it was really personal for them. And I tell this other story too, where I've witnessed, I used to work in this particular place, and I remember I went there and I complained about how long it really did take long to make the sandwich. It was very fresh, it was very good, but it took long to make it. And I remember I criticized them for it. I was like, this took too long. I got to go back to work. And while I was walking, because I had to start eating it before I got back, when I started walking, I almost tripped. And it wasn't the kind of trip where it's like tripping on a flat surface. And I was like, that's probably their ancestors telling me to go to hell. And I remember I went to this place. I'd been meaning to try it. My head had been saying, try to go there because it wasn't very busy. I kept being drawn to it the entire time to go over there. And I thought to myself, when the lady came to bring it out, I looked at her. She looked like just a very normal person. And I thought to myself, she's trying her best. I shouldn't have said that. So I went back. I apologized. I apologized. Like I prayed and apologized and all that, because you don't want problems with people's spirit team. If you have a problem with a person, you have a problem with their spirit team. It's as simple as that. Spirits don't let things go. The spirit world is black and white. It's black and white. This is what I've noticed with them. This is how I have to deal with them. They're black and white. And they're not talkative. They're not emotionally expressive. They have personalities, but it's like they're not repeating things. One time I can remember what live I said, they're not going to repeat things to you. They're going to tell you once. And then when you see it, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth time, it's through action. It's through consequences. And not a consequence of like, I'm teaching you a lesson. This is what's happened that I told you not to do it. This is why. And that goes for anybody. There is no rank too high that you don't have to adhere to the same things that every spiritual law is spiritual law. There's no ranking too high to not suffer a fall. You will be stripped of your wings. You have to listen. You have to listen. So it's like you could get a feeling every time before you do something silly. And maybe because you're not being aware in the moment and you're not listening to your gut, and it's a very soft voice that you have to develop to make it loud for them to get your attention. There are a lot of distractions around us, people being one of the biggest distractions. You know, Friends are a huge distraction. I realized that a long time ago. Every time I'd have people around me, they're just serving no purpose other than to be a distraction. If I want to get something done, I got to put my head down. Relationships can be a distraction if two people are not on the same page. So you're going to have constant situations with you going through your gang stalking journey or going through this alone. Otherwise, you're going to be influenced, and you're not making it through this ascension with anybody next to you. They are a liability. You're making this through with your ancestors. You're becoming strong with your ancestors. Nothing is being put in your path because it's going to eliminate you. There's a bright future outside of this that you're going to craft for yourself. You're not going to get a bright future just because you endured this. You're enduring this so you are strong enough to craft your future yourself. You're going to have to build it yourself, put the work in yourself, and it's going to take all the lessons that you learned from this cycle. People that are refusing to learn anything, it's because they already know they're not going through the cycle, and not everybody makes it, unfortunately. It is like, as much as it's a 360 attack, and as much as it takes, really blanketing and surrounding yourself in protection, it comes down to the same thing as well, as far as it's a 360-degree transformation that you need to make. Like, the old part of you needs to completely die off. I'm not talking about pieces of you have died. I'm talking about the whole of you has died. The entire personality, the person you are, it's like that soul is gone. And everything has made sense since. And that's the thing. You get the test first, you get the lesson after. You are tested first, and when you pass, you're going to keep being tested until you figure it out. And then when you pass, then you get the explanations. It's a backwards way of doing things than we normally know, or we've been groomed to see. But this is how it is. So, first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about I'm learning more about soul bindings. I initially knew about a spiritual marriage, what it was supposed to do. I originally knew about it instinctively in the beginning of everything. And I knew that this was meant to tie you to a person, entity, or institution, I'll say, or group. I knew that that was what it was for. I didn't have details beyond that. Since then, I've gotten details that has made everything that I said about this situation make even more sense. So I've always said, these people have always tried to blame me for everything that they're going through, and I've always said this is a backfire. Why? Because I don't do spiritual work like that. I don't. It's not that I don't believe in doing it. It's just that, well, there's a lot of reasons, but I don't do spiritual work like that. I've never been interested in learning or any of the above. It's not that I don't believe in spiritual work. I believe in spiritual work, just not that kind of spiritual work. So I knew that there was some sort of binding that they had done on my ex and myself. And so what happened was we were together, and they needed to break us apart. And so what happened was somebody that he knows, a man, probably a friend, somebody that he worked for, or somebody who is his handler in some way, somebody who is in some position of power in the organization that he finds himself trapped in. And I think everybody in there is trapped, whether or not they want to believe it or not, whether or not they want to be there or not. They just don't know they're trapped yet because they haven't developed a desire to leave. They're trapped. They're gonna know they're trapped when they don't listen. So this person spiritually binded to him, and John Ferreira, my handler, spiritually binded to me. So now they pulled us apart, and then they spiritually binded to each of us individually. And they became more and more fascinated with, I guess, soul contracts, and the particular kind of contracts and whatnot. And we're very, very determined to make sure that this soul binding held. And so I know somebody went to Haiti. I'm telling you, I knew somebody went to Haiti. I just knew it. I knew it. I can even feel like I know when this happened. This particular binding, I feel like I know when it happened. It happened in the beginning of 2023. After the first death spell, that is when it happened. There was a death spell in December 2022. I felt it. It didn't work, and it went back, and he didn't die. And then in the beginning of 2023, there was a soul binding. The energy shifted. And then in about spring, May, I want to say, of 2023, he went and he got an entity and he put it on him and he binded to it. He binded to it by blood. He binded to, if it's not by blood, it was in some like permanent way. He binded to it. Because he figured that he needed a protection that was stronger, because he couldn't get to me and he couldn't affect me. He couldn't make the results happen that were supposed to happen. So the one thing that I have learned from learning about how these soul bindings work is that they didn't know how these soul bindings really worked. And maybe because they were always able for it to work, they were always able to put people in fear. They were always able to make sure that people stayed in the positions that they wanted them to. They never experienced the negative effects of a soul binding. Now, looking at the results of how this is played out makes me realize that there's a lot more complexity to it because they were mixing spells. Now, I know he mixed spells and he mixes them incorrectly. For example, there was one spell that he did. He put something over me where it's like people would be hostile towards me naturally, whether they knew me or not. So it's like they would always be irritated by me, always be angry by me, and you would see it one after the other after the other. But at the meantime, he needs to get me to come back. So people are approaching me to pull me back into the herd, but they're losing their cool. And as soon as they snap, I'm like, oh, well, I guess this is not going to work for us. And I hang up really quickly, or I get out of there because I could care less, because I was looking for an excuse anyway. I was still passive back then, looking for an excuse to get out of the situation anyway. So it's like, as soon as they freak out, they're like, it's like they come back to it and they're like, no, 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 no. And it's like, no, no. This is what you call making stupid decisions. That's why everybody's not supposed to be able to do this kind of work. You're supposed to intelligently put things together. You cannot put something that is repelling people at the same time when you need this person to be coming in. What would have worked better was something with honey, not something that makes them be repelled. It doesn't make any sense. So there's a lot of mixing that happened that didn't make sense. So I know it wasn't made properly. So he doesn't like his secrets. That phone is on do not disturb and that phone is ringing. So he doesn't like when the incompetence is highlighted, telling people that he didn't know what he was doing. He was parading around as something that he was not. And I've been saying that from day one, because these people, John and Daisy, were only capable of doing very simple, stupid magic, sending you a yeast infection, making your maybe even an accident is a big thing. Like, they just had very like basic things that they were doing. It wasn't even worthy of cleaning off. It wasn't even worthy. It's like you walk through it. A simple prayer, a simple 5-minute Hail Mary, gone. This wasn't worthy of a lot of work. They kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper to try to make something get done. So anyway, the way the soul binding works is you're binded to someone and they have to go get a spirit to get this thing done. But the spirit is like, I think it's a human spirit. I don't think it's necessarily like a god or goddess. I think it's a human spirit that they find. And then they find this energy. Hold on, folks. We got somebody else that we're going to block here. Then they find this energy. Anyway, then they find this energy, and apparently this has to be an energy that used to be a criminal, or it used to be somebody who died in a very violent way, or somebody who has like, you need a hostile, aggressive spirit. So I remember in other videos I've told you guys, like, if you're stuck in these soul bindings and you die in it, you literally are like a slave to them forever. Like, they just need your graveyard dirt. They just need the dirt from the graveyard. So there's all this talk about, there's this energy that these people use, and the energy got here, and the energy is very aggressive, and it's like the energy is experiencing things that it missed. Smoking a cigarette, having sex, you know, eating certain foods, doing certain things, and the energy is drinking alcohol and stuff like that, and the energy is like, I'm never leaving. So it's almost like they woke it up to do one thing, but the energy is like, it's almost like waking something up and it's smarter than you, and it's like, I don't have to listen to this. I could just take this body over. So the way it's supposed to work is, once you do the soul binding, right? You put the 2 candles on the altar. They say their prayer. They burn their candles. I think it takes 7 days, I'm assuming. And, you know, then the work is done. They can feel your energy. You can feel their energy. You can feel their energy. So you know what they're feeling as well. So I always knew what he was feeling. I always knew what he was going through. I always knew when he was panicked. I always knew when he lost something. And when you're binded to someone like that spiritually, and you're the one who did the work, what's supposed to happen is if the other person is running away and they don't want to be with you, the spirit goes out and it abuses and tortures them until they come back. And there's one particular kind of spirit that it literally is a violent energy. So there's a lot of energy of death. There's a lot of energy of major losses. It just takes everything from you. It's like a death spell, basically. It's like a death spell until this person comes back to you. So the whole time my spirit team's like, you don't need to do anything. You just need to not go back. Don't take any calls, no text, don't communicate, nothing. Don't go back. And I remember that was the biggest thing that they were on about. Isolate yourself, not just from this person, but from this community, this group, completely, 100%. So they have to go and make it seem like, oh, we put this person in isolation, but it's my isolation that's torturing them. And they didn't even know this for like until this year, they found it out. Until I stopped going to the store last year and they realized they couldn't actually get access to me. And I think in the beginning his train of thought was, I can't get it done. I can't send the work remotely. I need to physically be around her to beat her down. And then he started realizing that the longer that I was isolated, the worse it was going from like, it was bad before, but it was like extremely bad. It was like horrible things would happen. So this is why when you begin to break out of this situation, a lot of things start happening to you. You start losing things. All of a sudden, your luck takes a turn for the worst. In my situation, whatever work they did, it backfired. I send all work back. And that's when I'm taking a hold of it. Like back then, you know, now I deal with energy a little bit differently, but back then I don't want none of your energy. I don't know what this is. I don't care. Keep it away from me. That's how I feel. And, you know, my spirit team is handling a lot of this. So I can see where they were even, it's like they were not using the energy in the way that people thought the energy would be used. Now, another thing about this particular soul binding is that there are rules to it. So it's funny because I would just consider this a twin flame contract, and that's how I looked at it before. But apparently, this is work that they did, this kind of soul binding. You can't have relationships outside of the person that you spiritually marry. If you, they binded themselves to me and binded themselves to my ex in this particular very strong contract, they're not allowed to have a spouse. They're not allowed to have children. They're not allowed to even think of other people in a sexual way. That is considered cheating as well. So it's like all of those things were done. And so what happens is the spirit starts attacking everything around you. The spouse, it's beating the spouse off. And a lot of times, if the spouse won't leave, they won't make it. Actually, I think if you have kids with them, whether or not you guys leave or whatever, nobody is safe. Nobody is safe in that kind of situation where somebody has binded themselves spiritually to somebody else. So these bindings are permanent. These are permanent bindings. You cannot get out of it. You cannot give it back. You cannot undo it. It's a lifelong type of contract. It's like a twin flame contract. These kind of contracts travel through lifetimes. It's not just one lifetime. That's how crazy that kind of contract is. They definitely didn't know this. So what happens is you, as a person, you die out of the contract. You die out of the contract. Spiritually, you got to die to get out of the contract because the contract's permanent. So I go through my spiritual awakening and I die spiritually out of that contract, I am not the same person that I was. I am in now what is called your North Node, your true life's purpose, your calling. I'm not the same person. And so, because I've gone through that, they're in a contract with a corpse. It is not possible for the person that they binded to return because the person is dead, but the contract still exists. So the torture is permanent. And as I listen to more and more videos about this, like, listen, in order to be a spiritual practitioner, you got to be ruthless. What I mean by that is you got to have no conscience. What I mean by that is you know that what somebody's asking for, they have no idea what they're asking for. You know that. You're here to make money. So you learn up front. If I actually told people that this is what would happen, they wouldn't go for this. But this is my bread and butter. I'm gonna give them, and if they knew that if that person is protected, that it's gonna backfire, they wouldn't go for this. Because to be a spiritual practitioner, you have to understand that your hands are in work. So I'm assuming that they would want for, I'm just doing it on your behalf, but you're karmically responsible for it. But it's like they know they could get caught in backfires. To be a good practitioner, you got to be able to deal with backfires, and you got to be able to deal with fighting spiritual battles. A spiritual battle is not like fighting a court case with someone. If you could think about how long it takes to fight a court case, a spiritual battle is like going to war. It is war because spirits are black and white. You have a conflict today, you forget about it, they didn't forget about it. They're working on it. If they don't get you this life, they're going to get you next life. They have conflict with you. And now it's a family conflict. There's no such thing as you just have, oh, it's just between me and you and this one spirit. It's a family conflict. They show up in numbers. They show up as a team. Everybody's involved. They don't say you had a fight with the ancestor. They say you have a fight with the ancestors. Everybody's coming. Now, everybody has different things that they're good at on your spiritual team. There are people on your team that are good at making sure people no longer exist. There are people that on your team that possibly it's like health things. People, some of them it's like money, some of them it's this, some of them it's that. Everybody has a different thing that they're doing or that they're good at. And everybody's team is different. So I don't know what people's teams are like, you know? And everybody has different ranks and different connections. So say you might not have someone on your immediate team that could do something, but you have an ancestor that's owed favors, that has good karma, and she runs and gets the entity, and she's managing it over there, the relationship over there. She goes and gets the entity that is needed. So she guides you. You gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do that. Take care of the situation. You gotta wait this long, you gotta hang tight. This is what we need in exchange for this. You don't know who people's teams are. It doesn't show on their face. You got to be careful when you're fucking around. And a lot of you guys fuck around a lot, especially on this YouTube. You don't know what you've been assigned to. Getting yourself in the middle of a spiritual battle is like suicide. It's a suicide mission. They don't stop. They don't negotiate. They don't understand anything. They're black and white. They don't care if you believe, if you don't believe. Things stop working. Things stop moving in your life. They're always there at every turn to trip you up on everything. It doesn't matter how clean you did anything, there's always a problem in it, a fatal problem. You can see when somebody has, back home we call it blight, when somebody has problems with somebody's spiritual team or a spirit in general. They have what you call blight. We stay away from people like that. We don't talk to them, we don't look at them, we don't nothing. The spirit is so aggressive that if you help them, you are also an enemy. This is how spiritual families work. Whoever is an enemy of my ancestors is an enemy to me. I don't need the explanation of what the problem was. I don't care what the problem was. I don't care if they were right or wrong. That's how it works. An enemy of my mother is an enemy of mine. Somebody who wants to stop my mother's progress is an enemy of mine. Anybody who is my enemy is an enemy of my spirit team. You think spirits need your name, your face, your address? You think spirits need to know exactly who you are, like I would need to know to make a report? This is spiritual stuff. They don't care. They don't care. That's how it works. They have a problem now, and they're going to make sure that they aggressively take any obstacle to their target out of the way. I've explained it. They're like AI. They're like a computer program. This program picks up potatoes. This robot is not negotiating. It's not picking up apples. It's not picking up the pears. It doesn't care. It doesn't have compassion. It doesn't have, these emotions are not needed. It just has one objective. That is it. So they programmed this spirit to make sure that he programmed it to make sure that I would be back with him. It backfired. My spirit tossed that back. Now he has to get back with me because everything, and we're not talking in a relationship, as in these soul bindings, this could be an old woman to a baby. This could be a man to a man. It's not a real relationship. It's a spiritual relationship. There are situations where people are binded. You know, Nigerians talk about this a lot, Africans, like all kinds of nationalities, where they talk about an 88-year-old. There was a story I saw on YouTube, an 88-year-old witch. I was married to an 88-year-old witch when I was 5. It is about, they want to suck off of your destiny, off of your essence, off of what it is that you have. My spirit team said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Protection was way too heavy. Now, the torture is not normal torture. The torture is like death is surrounding you. And the way that it works is it doesn't want to take you. It just wants to beat you down. Like, think about having a doll and like banging it over and over on concrete. And anything around you, it's going to take them out one after the other after the other. It's going to take out everything you've ever known. One by one. He put the spiritual binding up. I believe he did it in January when I made my first report, or the first big report, the federal report. And he went and he did that in retaliation. By February, he had to close his business. They start dropping you quick. This is, you will know. You could be Catholic, Protestant, Christian, whatever you want to be. You're going to know for a fact when something like that is on your ass. Nothing will work. Spiritual wars are expensive. Because a spiritual war doesn't just extend to, well, I lost something and I'm going to go get it back. They're going to impede your growth. No growth. When things die, we're talking about spiritual death. It cannot regenerate. It cannot regenerate without mother. You don't get new life. The Bible talks about it. The Bible that the gang stalkers want to push so hard on this page. Open it and read it. The witches are reading it. The warlocks are reading it. The covens are reciting from it when they cast those spells, those domination spells on you. It says, it talks about the second death. The second death is when your body goes. The first death, everybody has to go through a first death. Not everybody makes it after the first death. The body might stay alive, but not everybody regenerates. Not everybody gets new life. The birth and death cycle is very sacred and something that should be taken very seriously. This man had an opportunity to do that, but he didn't do it for the right reasons. He did it for the sake of revenge. Either way, they weren't going to honor it anyway. That was a trap from the beginning. It was a trap from the beginning. Him getting that particular job done was a trap from the beginning. So now they're telling people that I'm doing work on them, and they know that I'm not doing work because they've been in my energy. They came into my house. They didn't see any candles, any ritualistic stuff. They kept asking, well, how is she doing this? How is she You did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. And when they couldn't say anything, they're like, well, she prayed dark prayers. When the hell you know somebody to pray prayers like this? Why am I not a billionaire, a gazillionaire? Because I wouldn't stop at a billion. If I could do that, I want to be a gazillionaire. Why am I not a gazillionaire? They convinced people that it was me who did work on them. And meantime, it's backfired work. I think that's one of the worst backfires I've ever heard in the history of backfires. Because anybody who aligns with them as well is also getting taken down aggressively. Now, it's like, why do I tell people to clean their house and clean their space very often? All the time. If people are sending you bad work daily, by the hour, all the time, all day, it packs up in the house until you feel heavy. You feel the heaviness. You feel the work. Well, I don't know if everybody feels that kind of energy, but I certainly feel work. So it's like you got to keep cleaning it. It needs to be part of your routine. And sometimes some of the negative energy might be you. You got sad. You got sick. You got something. So you got to clean out your space so your space always stays healthy. These are people now who they have this kind of energy on them that cannot be cleaned. There is no healing. They've tried. They've gone to healers all of last year. They kept going to, and it kept getting worse and worse. So by February, lost the business, caught HIV. I want to say the first time I heard about the HIV was like March or April of 2023. And it just kept coming up, and it's still coming up now. And the first time I saved a link on my computer regarding it, I was in shock. I was like, is this real? I was in shock. He deleted the link off of my computer. I saved it again. He deleted it again. And I thought, oh, he doesn't like that I know. And I've been known. He's been had it. He's had it, and he spread it. He spread it around our city. He knows that he had it. He knows that he knows for a fact, like, so many things I've seen that have transpired. He's been mortified because he was telling them that the work was working. Instead of telling them that it was a backfire, which I know he suspected at the very least, if not confirmed, he suspected that it was a backfire. Instead of telling them overseas who paid for the work that the work backfired, he was telling them that I was doing it so that they would send more resources to attack me harder. So he's telling them that I'm doing this stuff. And meantime, I'm proving that the work is not working because in order to get me out of contracts, spell work is not working. They went from praying that I wouldn't make money, and that didn't work. Excuse me. Then they went to sending people in the store and almost like dropping the energy through the person that they were sending. And I could see it. I could feel it. That didn't work because I was cleaning out the store all the time, saging it, cleaning it out, whatever. Then they went to chanting in front of my store. And while the person would come in front of the store to try to chant, I would just stand right there. And the lady, this Hispanic lady, saw me. She looked at me and she ran out of the mall. I mean, she didn't walk. I mean, she ran out of the mall. And then they would just make random people who they would gang stalk put in play because none of the spiritual ladies wanted to do it anymore. None of these old Hispanic ladies wanted to come. So they would get regular people who don't believe. And they would be like, all I want you to do is pace around the mall. And no store would make money that day. And I'm telling you, it was like the mall would be packed and other managers would come to my store and be like, it's so weird. So many people came in, no sales. And they would pace around. They would, and then they went from doing it one time in the morning, one time in the night. They didn't care if the whole mall went bankrupt. I mean, stores were starting to go out of business. That's how serious they were about this. And there were still times, I went a stretch 13 days one time of not making money. And I remember prior to going that 13-day stretch, there was a period that I was praying about it. And I was like, and I was still making money regardless of the chanting. So I would pray in front of my store, pray in my store, come around and make sure that my store would be covered. I don't know about the rest of them, but my store would be covered. And I would spiritually block things out in my store. And they didn't understand what I was doing. They kept asking, what is this? What is that? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Because they wanted to know what was going on. Because they were noticing it wasn't working. And I got the indication it was my ancestors. Anything that got blocked was my ancestors telling me, like, you don't want to be here. This is not what you want to do. And so I remember praying to my aunts. I was like, listen, let's get out of here, because I don't want to put up with this. It's not even worth it to begin with. It's too far. I hate the drive, blah, blah, blah. And so it was instant. They untied that knot, got me out of that thing. My lesson was learned as far as, like, you know, how to do certain things, and that was it, done. And he made it incredibly difficult for me to open up anything new again, to have any growth in my career. And then when I got the new store was massive. So you have to understand, there's a group chat. You people know there's a group chat, and they give updates in the group chat, and they have to keep everybody aware of what's going on. This is what we're doing. This is how it has to go down. So they're in the group chat telling people she's never going to open another store. See, we closed down her store, but the store wasn't closed down to spell work. The store was closed down to human intervention and me releasing the store. I had to release the store. They didn't want to let me out of that contract. They were fighting tooth and nail to hold me to that contract, the mall. And even when the GM of the mall wanted to let our store go, he was in agreement with it. Head office was like, no, I like her and she's going to stay. So, because that was where my relationship was. It was an executive very high up. And I remember with all of this happening, all of this going on, when we did our promo video, because they were telling everybody, oh, she's broke, she doesn't have money. I did a $20,000 renovation. When we were getting everything done, it was mortifying. It was mortifying for him. What kind of practitioner? This girl is hiring, doing all of these renovations. And then when you saw the video, it was like right outside of the original mall where I was at. And it was almost it was like, I want to say like 12 square feet shy of like 4,000 square feet. So it was embarrassing. It was more, how did this happen? It was such a big company. It was, you know, it's owned by, you know, this huge conglomerate. And it was in the den of organized crime. All those neighbors were there because of some type of connection that they got. In my humble opinion, they were all connected. They were all holding hands. So it's like, damn. And I'm looking at God like, why was this one the one that, this is when you're on mission. This is when you're on a mission. They put you in, people kept asking, how did you get this place? How did you get this place? So then the new rumor started to be, oh, she's one of us. So that was their explanation to explain why I was still getting things and think, no, we have control of her business. She's one of us. We have to take control over her. Then it started this huge push to prove that they were in control of my business. Let's send her influence. If I have an influencer, they go and they capture the influencer and they suck the influencer in. Anybody that I work with, they have to make the person look like that person is one of theirs. Because remember, the work is paid for from out of town. So the people out of town don't know on the ground what's going on until they started getting wise enough to do their own investigation. So I started seeing where the cartel actually were coming in separately to find out information and is different from his people. The two of them behave differently. They've been operating separately. He doesn't believe that the people watching here are cartel. The people on the channel are cartel. The people watching the tarot readings are cartel. He doesn't believe that. That they're watching for themselves. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Common sense, like, let's be real. They're no longer trusting. They're no longer trusting because this is lies. The money that they paid, what they paid for, they're not seeing the work. So I'm still making it through. I'm still here, and it's like, If I have a sale and the sale is doing well, they got to send all their people to the sale to kind of mix up the clientele so you're not really sure. If I talk to an employee over here, they got to make it where they suck in the employee and slander me and make certain things look a certain way, so it's like they can always say no, she belongs to us. In the meantime, they haven't had me in their space for a long time, so they went from trying to get me out of a space to being desperate to find me. And when he couldn't break into, energetically and spiritually couldn't come into my home because my home was blocked from that energy, when he couldn't energetically come into my home, it was all this, oh, maybe you should get another mall location. And now people are reaching out to you, offering you things. Oh, maybe you should just go deal with this or go do this, or we only want to shop at a physical location, whatever. Not because they want me at the location, because they need access to me spiritually. And because I've isolated completely, this work has soaked in for 2 years, at least a year. It's soaked in, backfires for 2 years. Has been backfiring from the day that the idea came into people's minds. There's been backfires from day one, but the work has been soaking it. Somebody has been under extreme torture, both of them. And they haven't been able to explain to the people in Brazil why shit is haywire, why money is draining so bad. The universe does not care about your money. We don't use fiat to purchase anything universally. We use good karma. We use light. That's why they need your light energy. We use light. That is the currency. So the universe doesn't care if you were a billionaire. They'll turn you into Kanye tomorrow. Spirit doesn't care how much money. It's like unclogging a sink. It just means that more of it is going down the drain. It doesn't matter what you have. Spirit doesn't care about your connections. They'll turn people against you in the people's sleep. They'll make people turn their back on you. Connections will dissolve. Networks will dissolve. Political connections will dissolve. Now, it's crazy because he told me a story that he tried to offer money for him to be out. He tried to get all the money he's ever made and give it back to them, because that's how it works. You only leave when you've lost everything that they gave you. That's horrible. So you lose all your hard work, everything. You got to make peace with that if you want to leave. So he decided he was going to give it back, and they refused him. They were like, and this is a story he told me. He said, they were like, what, you think I don't want to leave too? He's like, nobody gets to leave. This is just how it is. So he's stuck. But he wanted to leave. He hates that job. Why wouldn't you hate that job? As a practitioner, you're a gangster. You can't even take a vacation properly because, and it depends. Maybe if you have somebody who's under control, who you can gang stalk, who's not going to keep surprising you with different crap all the time, yeah, maybe then you could take a vacation. But if you have somebody who's spiritually protected and you have a new surprise all the time, you can't turn their back. You cannot they can't turn their back on me for 2 seconds. They feel like I'm always up to something. I'm living my life. You're under torture. That's why you're always losing things. You're always losing. I don't mean like you're losing, like I lost the lease to my apartment. I mean like you're losing the whole idea of being housed. That idea of being under a roof that is permanent, having security, it's done. The idea of work, not just making money here and there, the whole idea of making money is done. It's finished. The whole idea of having friendships or support, the concept, happiness has left your life. Peace has left your life. Stability has left your life. And you're married to a corpse. You're married to a corpse. Something that doesn't exist anymore. You cannot remarry. It's like something's not clicking. You try to now bind to the new version of the person. You're getting beat up even for that, because this contract stipulates that you cannot get out of it. How can you marry when you're already married? Even on earth, in human courts, you can't do stuff like that. one of these marriages is not legal. It's not even binding. You just cannot get out of this. There is no way out. And this was his specialty, because when he hacked my Instagram the very first time, he changed it to no way 1019. I think it was actually 1090, but I made it 1019. I got the numbers mixed. And then I took hold of that Instagram that he put me in, because he took over my business Instagram, put me on a new Instagram that was blank with no followers, and it was called no way 1090. And then I took over the new No Way account and I changed it to God's Way 1090. And I put a picture of like witchcraft on the post, or the profile picture, one of the two. So I took control of it. I changed the phone number on it. I changed the email. I changed everything. I rehacked it, and I got my original Instagram back. And he got pissed off about that. He eventually got that Instagram back. But when I typed in no way on Instagram, there's a whole bunch of like dead Instagram pages with the same thing. So I knew from early on this was something that was happening to a lot of people. And I remember when I first opened my store in the mall, these other girls who were in competition with me, I didn't know it was them who sent me energy, but I knew somebody sent me bad energy. And I returned the energy, and they lost their Instagram account. And I mean, for months, for a long time, they had no Instagram. They had to start a new Instagram back from scratch. They lost that IG account. And I think they just had the website. It's like, listen, I think they had 2 or 3 store locations, mall locations that they had to support with no social media. And I knew that was rough. I was like, look, I have a sizable social media with real customers, real clientele, and I'm constantly marketing on there, and I feel it some days, and I just know they had, and you know how hard it was to build an Instagram platform after a certain year. And this was just last year or the year before, 2022. It was early 2022. And I was like, damn, it's you guys sending me that kind of energy? That's crazy. You know, that's why spirit doesn't need an address. You just have to return people's bullshit back to them, and then you find out A, what they sent you because it's happening to them, and B, who it is. You can imagine how messed up it'll be to send energy back, and then it's like your best friends falling sick, people close to you are falling sick. This is not the type of energy that you want to play with, you know. You hold hands with these people, your money drains instantly. And like I said, it's not money draining. It's like the idea of you having money is now gonna die as well. That's really what's died. It's the idea of you having money. It's swift and it's aggressive. It's aggressive. You gotta let go of their hand, because we are not gonna stop an entire ship of karmic people going down to save one person who makes stupid decisions. And this is why I talk about it. Don't worry about kids. Yeah, they're baby demons. They are. They're not normal. None of them are normal. These people have forfeited the right to be called human a long time ago. They need to be cleared off so everybody can enjoy their life and everybody can step into their destiny. And that's the bottom line. And you cannot be feeling sympathy. You cannot be praying for people. You cannot be wishing people well. You cannot be helping people. And that is extremely important. Mind your business. Like Lot's wife in the Bible, you keep your eyes straight. Don't even look behind you. Don't listen to no stories. Don't sympathize. Don't, oh my God, well, it's so bad and da 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 da. Do you know how many practitioners have been taken down in this situation? Do you know how many big practitioners have been humbled and taken down and lost their rank? Anybody can lose rank. Anybody can lose spiritual rank. When spirit is ready, it is serious. It is serious. It doesn't care. It doesn't care. And it's not about, it is worth it. You have to understand how long these spirits put these things together. These are not like, it didn't just happen. Spirit's been hearing people crying about gang stalking for a very long time. Spirit's been watching people enslave people in these kind of contracts as drug mules for a long time. Taking down an organization is a very coordinated hit. They're doing it in broad daylight in everybody's face. This is not something simple. This is not something easy. And nobody is going to stand in the way of it getting done, whether God liked you or not. You will lose your wings. When God gives you a gift, yeah, there's people with spiritual rank and all of that. I'm not talking about lower entities. I'm not talking about, like, there's people who are naturally gifted for sure. But I'm talking about what I know. God gives you a gift. It is a gift. Oh, you're gifted, you're psychic, or whatever. What is the word? Gift. Somebody, it was gifted to you. It can be taken back. You are not the only person that can have a gift. Perhaps they deemed your abilities, your heart, to be something that was needed. The qualities that God desires in people is not what people desire in other people. God desires people who are lion-hearted, people who don't quit, people who are perseverant, people who are obedient. It doesn't matter what you look like, what you came from, what your family's like, none of the above. You don't need to fit anything else. It's the heart. And sometimes God purposely puts you in situations in the beginning of your life to develop your heart, to develop you into the person that is needed to handle having that gift, to be responsible for it. Recently, there was a reader I knew when she was taking her fall. First of all, if you tap into spirituality in any way, shape, or form, you will need ancestors here. You're in the spiritual world, it is dangerous. There's all kinds of energies. They're trickster energies. They always want something. And they're binding you. They don't just, you have a gift. It's not like a favor. Let's make a pact, a favor. No, it's a binding. It's lifelong. And when this life is done, you belong to them again next lifetime. There are rules to this thing that they understand you know nothing about. A lot of times they're like, well, why is she so I know who my spiritual family is. So it's like, maybe I didn't know the entirety of it before, but I definitely knew there was something to do with death in there. There was always been. You want a relationship that is built on trust, and you don't want just a transactional relationship with a spirit, because that makes you disposable. You want relationships that are built on love and trust and loyalty. What does that mean? Spirits work with you without question. They come in, they help, they assist. It's like helping an old friend. Because when they call on you as well, they're going to expect the same thing. Without question. We need you here. We need you there. We need you to do this. We need you to do that. And you're going to need to endure some crazy stuff. I had to endure 2 years of gang stalking. But an enemy of my mother is an enemy of mine. I don't question. I don't care. I don't care who's in the right or the wrong. I don't care how it goes. That's nothing to do with me. That's how a team works. It's very simple. I am confident in the energies that are around me. It's very simple. We work in a very coordinated manner, and they're everywhere. You're not supposed to be in the spirit realm making enemies with people's spiritual team and their ancestors, and you don't even know who they are. You don't even know what they're about. This lasts lifetimes. I knew when I met that energy that I knew that energy before. I knew his energy for sure. I knew it. I knew that energy. I knew Daisy's energy. I felt these energies before. Like, you just know when you know. So the decisions you make in this lifetime, they follow you. The enemies you make and the friendships you make and the alliances you make, they follow you. Losing rank is worse than just staying at the same rank. You should have just stayed at the same rank than to completely go to ground zero. Like, they're not letting you come back up after that. You've proven yourself. Over there, it's like honor. It's an honor system. It's about doing what you said you were going to do. It's about honoring things. It's about being available even when it's at a cost to yourself. And that's what it takes. And these people continue to, in my opinion, dibble and dabble in spirituality and make decisions and not think about the next lifetime, the next reincarnation, the next time that they have to come over here, the next time that they're going to have to see somebody's face, deal with somebody's ancestors. We want war. And not thinking about the fact that you're going to have to pass away and go deal with these energies that you've binded, these energies that you owe. And I knew he owed energies from early on. I was like, this person is artificially being kept alive. This person is not like treachery everywhere. Treachery everywhere. It's like robbing one to pay the other. Like that's the type of way that this person spiritually lives. Karma everywhere, even right now. It's like just touching people and sharing of their karma. Hey, I'll pay you this to go do that. And the money is a transference of the energy. And now this person has to share in their karma. That reader, I knew when her money stopped. Everybody knew when she was taking extra long to get her hair done. And when you could see that her money was draining. And I saw what was happening. And that's what happens when you're in alliance with people like this. That's what happens. And you know, all the advice that I give spiritually is very pertinent advice. Whether or not people want to take it or not, it's up to them. But there's a reason I'm giving this advice. First of all, you got to take hold of your sexuality from, it will control you. It will control you. Even if you don't have an energy on you, it can control you. It is a desire. You got to take control of the same way you have to take control of like your eating habits, your discipline, any sort of thing that can control you. You need to take a hold of it before you start stepping into spirituality. These spirits will play games with you. They will play games with you. They will walk you on a leash. And it is not worth going through what these people are going through. Spirits do not care if they have to flip your car over on the highway, spin it on its top, 3 more hit it. You will know when it's the spirit that's come through. You will know. My daughter comes home and she tells me, oh my God, the whole school's crying because this kid got hit on one side of the road, flipped onto the other side of the road and got hit again. And I'm like, that whole town is like Red Robe. That whole town is organized crime. That whole town that I came from, the whole town is into something. The whole town. I wasn't even... Anyway, nothing surprises me. The whole town has been under judgment for forever. Whole subdivisions of new buildings are going down in flames all at the same time. Just like everything is upside down over there. Everything is upside. They know it. They know it. But that kind of death, come on now. That kind of death, a kid passes away like that. It's like, that's why you're not supposed to look behind you. That's why you're supposed to look forward. It will be scary as you walk away. And you're not supposed to turn back, or you will turn into a pillar of salt. The rules are the rules, and they apply to everyone. These are not energies that are programmed to negotiate. Well, it's just a kid, so no. It doesn't even know what a kid is. It's a soul. It's a soul. It sees a soul. It sees an energy. That's it. The age really, it's like the age of the soul and the age of the body is 2 different things. They don't look at things the same. So for you to be thinking, oh my goodness, I know I was gang stalked, but this is so horrible. What? This is about an organization being dissolved here. But they did it to themselves. They did it to themselves. They put themselves in a contract with a corpse. And now they cannot get back with the corpse because it's dead. That particular person that was there is dead. It cannot come back. So it is a permanent no way out. That is from the boss who paid for it to the practitioner. Everybody's getting their ass fucked up. Everybody, excuse my language. Everybody is soaking in their own work. They lit the candle with their own hand. And what are you going to do? Now you're the one getting beat down in that situation. And that's only one of the things they're getting beat down on. There's multiple things that they did that's backfiring. They just kept doing death spell after death spell after death spell after death spell. Now, I used to think a death spell and a binding spell were different, but that kind of binding spell to me, if the person doesn't come back, it is a death spell because they're just going to continue taking everything back. Plus, for the fact that you're not honoring it, you're in that sort of binding or you're in that sort of contract and you're beating down on the person that you're supposed to have a spiritual contract with. You're in these contracts to protect each other, to help each other. You cannot leave. It's lifelong. You cannot hurt each other. You're not allowed to cheat. You're not allowed to lust after people. You're not allowed to do anything that hurts the other one. You're there to protect. And they've spent the entire contract doing the opposite, trying to get me locked up, trying to get me bankrupt, and still doing it. And after watching this, is gonna still go do something else. What is going on? Never seen this level of self-sabotage in my life. Still paying people, still doing whatever it takes, but I am not that person anymore that they binded. So it's like, it's a corpse. It doesn't matter. I cannot be binded. I've ascended. So I had some other stuff to say about this, but I'm going to leave with this. I definitely spoke about, I really had to talk about no sympathy for enemies, no praying for enemies, none of that. As soon as you recognize someone to be an enemy, they're as good as gone. Turn your back on that situation. Leave that alone. You know, I was starting to say something about he wanted to leave that job from before, and it's like spirit essentially almost granted that wish because it's like, yeah, you're not going to have that job. You guys are not going to be aligned anymore. But with losing that job, with not no longer being in the cartel, you lose the connections, you lose the protection, you lose the funding, you lose all of it. And so, yeah, you're a practitioner on the loose, and now you're running from them too. He's on the loose. He's been under an exaggerated state of anxiety from, when would I say, last year? To be honest, the whole year. The whole year. When he did that death spell, it's because the come to me spell wasn't working from October when I just isolated from him and I wasn't coming back. He was doing it. I was seeing that it was done. I was seeing it was being done, and I was just kind of looking at it and just kind of rolling my eyes because I was like, whatever. You don't have to succumb to spell work. You guys know that? Like, oh, this happened to me. They did that. You don't have to succumb to that. You can slow it down. Like, you can see energy being sent at you and just be like, I don't want this. I refuse it. In your mind, like somebody's summoning you and it's like you're having thoughts about them and whatever, which I never did. I just saw the summoning. I never had good memories with this, but I didn't care. I never felt anything for this person. There was no love spell that hit in the first place. I think he's disgusting as a human being. In every way, mind, body, soul, everything. Disgusting. So it's like, I'm seeing it. How are you going to know if someone's summoning you? You see things that remind you of the person, puts you in that person in your mind. But if you're disgusted, you don't have the good thoughts. If you had good memories of them, yes, you're going to have good memories. You're going to see it. You might smile. If there were good memories to begin with. But if they're not good memories to begin with, who cares? That's how it works. Who cares? And I can have great memories of you and still not call you. Who cares? And still not want to reconnect because I said so. This is about self-mastery because you have your will. Spirit can torture you. It can't break your will. It can't break your will. That's what we as human beings have, and that's law. Our will is our own. So spell work that tries to manipulate your will is not good magic. That's what you call black magic. So he wanted to be out of it, and they ejected him out of it. He no longer has a job, money, anything. He's on the run. They're on the run now. They are on the run. These people are unhoused. They have no stability. They're scared for their life. And sometimes it's like I'll tap into that energy and I will have like, this is an exaggerated sense of fear. Because as you know, these people are everywhere. These people are everywhere, and he knows how it works because he does it. The post office, the people that at the light company, the phone company, wherever, there's no escaping them on this planet. That's how they set themselves up. So they have allies everywhere. So this is not a situation where you can really run. Like, you run and you stay somewhere and they'll get in touch with like the owner of the motel. They will find you. You gotta just, I don't know. Negotiation is probably impossible though. Whoever holds hands with this person is an enemy of the universe, because they want him out of here. They want him dealt with. They want him to experience himself completely. Everything that's happening to him is what he's done to other people as a practitioner. He's destroyed lives. He's gotten people homeless. He's taken everything from them. He's beat them down and tortured them until they were nothing. And that's what he thought he would do with me. So he's just getting karma. That's it. Just a little bit of bad luck until they're ready to deal with him. And everything that he sent my way, he knows it's coming back. So all that spell work he did for me to get locked up, he knows that it's coming back. He just hides these things. And this is not just for one party. Whatever they did on either side, it mirrors. It mirrors. And they know things are not normal. It's a whole organization draining. When this thing started every day, every other day in the news, it was like some historical drug bust. This is the biggest drug bust we've done ever in our history, 500 million. And they have stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of bricks. Stop playing with people and stop playing stupid games. How many times are you going to hear that? How many times do you need to be told? There's no fixing this. How are you going to fix it? You take this work to any practitioner, how are they going to begin to fix you being binded in a permanent thing to a corpse? Now you're over here with your corpse bride. Listen, I feel zero, and it's not because I'm not an empathetic person. It is because I'm just here to do my job. That's it. I just had to stand in place. I didn't do any spell work on anyone because I don't know how to do spell work. I don't know how to do spell work, and that's the truth. I don't really care if anybody believes it, because people are going to be like, oh, that sounds so crazy. You know everything that's going on. Maybe you did it. I could not have put this together. Like, if I had sat down and planned it, I'm a pretty smart person, but this is genius level work. This is eloquent work. This is not me. I would love to take credit for it. Are you kidding me? I would love to. This is clean. Practitioners need to study this kind of stuff. Like, what? We got to write this down and study it. We got to practice how to do stuff like this. This is how you do spell work. If you got to do spell work, you don't just do a one spell here and a one spell there. You marry them together like this. My God, everything in anticipation of the next thing. This is beautiful stuff. I admire this. I'm like, what? You have to be all seeing and all knowing to have put this together. I mean, God puts you in a position where they train you from a young age to be a certain kind of way, to deal with certain kinds of things, to get this done. This is not simple. There's a lot of investment. So yeah, they're going to take out high-ranking people on our side. If they're going to take out people on our side, what the hell you think they're going to do on your side? They don't care whose side. It needs to get done. Even if, and I've explained this before to these people, even if I wasn't here, it's going to get done. Even if this is the last thing that I say when I turn this phone off, they care about this getting done. That's it. Getting rid of me is a hollow victory. It's going to be even worse after that. They know that in their heart, in their pit of their stomach. They know that. They know that. They know that. Do you think accommodations haven't been made for that? Spirit, you know, one thing I learned about spirit, spirit doesn't make like, it's not like human beings where they make a plan. Like our plan is A to B. Spirit makes plans in like branches. Like any which way you go, you're stuck. I've seen it, I've looked at it, I've observed it with different things that have happened. I've sat back and I'm like, wait, what if they had done it this way? Still a roadblock. What if they had done it? What if they had not done it at all? Still a roadblock. I'll tell you why. There was at a certain point, I could feel energetically he was trying to hold himself back because he realized, like, by doing this, these things are happening. He's trying to hold himself back. They were taunting him, taunting him, taunting him. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just getting peaceful. Why are they doing this? Plus, you're binded to an energy now. They don't even have to taunt you. The energy will make you do it. It'll lift your hands for you. Once they put an energy on you, it'll just do it for you. You think this energy doesn't know by sending attacks you're destroying a contract that you're like, the energy knows that you're not supposed to be tapping into this, my energy and all. It knows all of this and it's doing it on purpose. It's like the way things are written is the way things are going to go down, and that's all it is. That's what it boils down to. Anybody who is going through this situation, there is no sympathy needed. There's no condolences needed. Walk your path. Learn. Become the strongest version of yourself. This is not just a physical thing that you're seeing. You need to tap into yourself spiritually. You need to call onto God. I always say start with your ancestors. I give a lot of spiritual advice. If the advice wasn't needed, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be telling people to do this. You are not just in a physical situation. This is a spiritual situation and nobody is coming to help. You don't even want people to come to help because if they do, that they're just going to use that person as a gateway to you to destroy you. All you have is your spirit guides. All you have is God. All you have is Mother. That's it. You're going to get to a point, whether you believe in what I'm saying or not, where you will be desperate enough that you will call. You will. You will. Trust me, you will. When spirit world is ready for you, they don't care if you believe something or you don't believe something. You're going to believe it. One time. It only takes one time. One stupid thing to happen. One stupid thing to happen. And not even a stupid thing. Spirit will just open this door behind me, swing it open, walk right in, take the camera out of my hand. You're talking about spirits here. Like, there are people being like physically having hands put on them by spirit. The practitioner has had physical hands put on him by this. He's terrified of that. More than once they have to put hands on him, and he knows that. That's why I believe that it's like whatever's possessing him is moving his hand, and then the spirits are attacking him on top of it. So it's like his body is just being abused. He's just being tortured. He's being tortured. He does not want to be here. Do you know how much drugs this guy takes? This guy takes drugs early in the morning. I know it. Like round the clock. Does not want to be here. He's hoping for an overdose. I'm telling you, going through this thing here, there's no need to be worried too much about anything. When God says to you, you're going to make it out, you're going to make it out. Just relax. You don't need the details. You don't need any of that. Just keep going through. People are just trying to bother you because they're being tortured. People are just trying to create blockages in your path because they have multiple blockages. Whoever helps them, whoever assists them, while you've endured, while you've prayed, while you've kept your heart clean, whoever assists them also is catching hellfire as well. And the last message that I have, I want to talk about forgiveness. So it's hard. After this level of abuse, the forgiveness is hard. I've had to learn what forgiveness is. I had to Google it because they kept pushing forgiveness, 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 forgiveness. forgiveness. Let me explain this forgiveness thing to you, how this forgiveness thing works. Give me a second here. Forgiveness is just releasing things, not holding a grudge, not letting things have access to you to trigger you. Not every time you think about it, you're crying, you're upset, you're triggered, you're angry. Releasing the low vibration. Forgiveness is healing. Now, let me explain why this is important. Because your heart chakra connects the spiritual side, which is the higher chakras, to the lower side, which is the physical. The lower chakras are earthly chakras. The higher chakras connect to heaven. You can do spell work, but to create, you need light. You need good karma. What happens in a spiritual battle when you go through one of these things is it does a little number on your heart chakra. It does a little number on you. It can lead you to animosity, to hatred, to these lower vibrational feelings that's gonna block your light, your creation, which means your new beginning. Because remember, you're a baby now, you've been reborn. So you need to start on a fresh journey and you need help in creating. You need to be able to access God. The forgiveness is not for them. It's not absolving them of their karma. That karma is coming down either way. It's coming down either way. Nothing can stop it, not even you, by forgiving them. This is spiritual law. You must accept it. The karma is going to come. They're going to pay for it. You don't need to know when. You don't need to know how. Don't even bother yourself with those details. You have to start moving on. You must start healing. In order to heal, you got to release it. It took so long for me. So when I first started hearing about the forgiveness thing, I used to cry and rage. I was rage crying like there's no way. Absolutely not. No way. Forgiveness has nothing to do with reconnection. Forgiveness is an inside job. That's why I want to change the name, because when you say forgiveness, it's like people think forgiveness means I forgive you, let's be friends. No. So I call it releasing. Release the burden of it. Don't let it attach to you anymore. You got to take yourself to God. And it's like you've been through battles. So you're taking bloody robes to be cleansed. I release this. This thing that happened to me, I give it to you. Recently, I felt betrayed by someone. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I didn't want to believe it. Actually, I saw it from before. I just didn't want to believe it. I saw all the signs. I just didn't want to believe it. I'm like, damn, somebody who reads for a divine feminine collective? Wow. You know what? It wasn't my place. I gave it to God. I was like, listen, and with not very many words, I was like, this is your people, and I don't know what to say. I don't have words for it. I'm shocked. And when I made the decision to unfollow and, get out, just no longer associate, it was like, Mother was just like, just let it be. Don't worry about it. And that's all it was. I just let it go. And for me, I just feel, first of all, I feel shocked. You're always going to feel shocked when it's like the people that you least expect. You're always going to feel shocked, but you got to come to a point where it doesn't affect you anymore. And that's the point that is very important, because you got to heal this heart chakra again. You got to get back to a version of yourself that is not the old version of yourself, because you can't go back there. I probably could never be that childlike again with the information that I know now. Not probably, I can't. Even if I wanted to, but I can't. As a person, I'm different now. I'm just a different person. But she served her purpose, but she was not able to glide in and out of what was needed for her. You need every emotion that you have. You need everything that you have. That's why you were given these emotions. What separates us from the spirit realm is this wide range of emotions, and with the emotions we create, and by what we feel we create. So you sit at home depressed, stressed, and thinking you can't do it, then that's what's going to manifest. You sit at home and you're like, I'm definitely getting out of this shit. That's what's going to manifest. Nobody else may have gotten out of it, but you're going to get out of it because you said you are. You got to have that type of control over yourself. You have to have that kind of control. And so if you leave the triggers inside of you, you leave yourself susceptible to be manipulated energetically, to be put in a state of hatred when you don't really want to feel the hatred for this person. And these lower energies, they cause you to self-sabotage. They cause you to put yourself in a situation where you knew better than to lash out. And here you are lashing out in the streets. Now you're in handcuffs in the back of a truck. You knew better than to do this, that, and the third. But here you are, and you're doing this nonsense. You got to transmute these energies. You got to master them. Your rage, when you do feel it, because you're going to need it, must be controlled. You want to have, you see, when you talk about the zodiacs and you talk about different placements, you'll talk about somebody's Mars sign. That is the Mars is the god of war. So that is their fighting style. And every fighting style is different. So if somebody has a Mars in a particular placement, say Aries, they're going to lash out in a very childish, violent, aggressive way. But somebody might have a Mars in a Virgo, and they will war with you very strategically, very calmly, and you might not even know you're at war with this person. Maybe they shook your hand and told you, let's put it aside. Let's move on. And then you're still at war. There's a different fighting style. You have to choose for yourself how you're going to handle your emotions. It's not that you don't feel them. We're talking about, are they going to take over you and start acting for you? I feel all these emotions, but when I heal my heart, when I forgive, I'm able to see the action that was taken, be annoyed by it, but control myself on how I respond to it. Am I going to go and fight with the person? Am I going to go and bicker? Am I going to get revenge? Am I going to do something back? What do I do with it? Do I release it? And you get to choose in every situation how you respond to things. And when you start tapping into spirituality now, you work with your ancestors, with your spirit team on how you're going to deal with this problem. What should we do about it? Not all work should be sent back. Not all energy should be sent back. Not all energy should be sent back right away. This is the art of war. This is how you implement strategy. You implement planning. You anticipate the likelihood of what somebody else is going to do. You take your time. You take your time. And if you're in one of these bindings and you're the one that did the binding, you're not breaking out of it. You're not getting out of that contract. You're in that contract. They're not going to let you out of the contract. One person got out of the contract, but you're not getting out of the contract. You're going to be, you have a corpse bride. That's it. That's all. You have a corpse bride. So, you're in a marriage by yourself, and it's not possible for the thing that you want to return. You're just kind of stuck in it. A heart that is able of regenerating itself and healing itself, becoming better versions of itself. A heart like that, it's like there's a difference between a new heart chakra that just opened up and a heart chakra that's been abused and can regenerate itself, reopen up itself. Because you have to be able to know when you could go to the light and when you could go to the dark without being affected either way, without becoming anything else. Like, you can observe things without becoming them. You can have to be things without taking on that energy personally. In a sense, it's like just being professional about your job. When I look at it, I kind of think of I always think of it like if you go to your doctor and they diagnose you with something like cancer or something really crazy, and you notice that the doctor is not crying with you, the doctor is not like emotionally involved, they're just really focused on the diagnosis. And like I'm sure, of course they're probably going to show a bit of compassion, like, I'm sorry this is happening to you, I really have to give you bad news. But they're not going to be like having a meltdown on the floor with you. They're just going to do their job and be professional. And it doesn't mean that they're not heartless, but this is how you have to go about doing what you got to do, whether it's to protect yourself or not. Moving to protect yourself out of a state of understanding that you need to protect yourself lets you be very measured and balanced. And I'm going to come back to the word strategic in how you do things, because you're not acting out of the way you feel insulted or rage or any of that. You're sitting with it, realizing, analyzing it, diagnosing it, seeing what needs to be done, and saying to yourself, this is what needs to be done. This is enough. This is a balanced approach, without drowning in your rage and drowning in all of this. And now you need all this healing after you came out of it because you lost yourself. You have to be able to heal your heart, control your vibration, and release it. They've abused you, they've taken a lot from you, they've done a lot. You got to find ways to assist yourself in releasing it. And for me, I pray about it a lot. I ask God to help me with it. And day by day, you feel that healing happening, you feel that release happening. And that's why you have a spirit team. That's why you have God with you, and you constantly ask for help with the things that you're struggling with. And sometimes it's not to say that God will do it for you, it's that God will show you the way. God will give you answers. God will give you explanations. One example, simplest healing I've ever done. I used to carry this burden with me with my mom, with not getting along with my mom for the longest time. I just carried it as a burden. And then one day there was this thing, and it was basically talking about like God just needed to get you here, and the way to get you here was through these people. And God said, when I get you here, I'll take care of you. And hasn't God done that? And I listened to this random thing on the internet, and I was like, to be honest, this is how I always felt with this person, with both my parents actually. I used to tell them to their face, I'm like, I am an orphan. I felt like they were irresponsible. But just with saying that, it was like, oh, because I've always said, when I talk about God and I talk about mother, I always say, like, I don't look at this like how people talk about God. Like, I really feel like this is like my biological mother. I feel like my spirit is my actual mother, like in a related way. And I remember as soon as I heard that, it was like, oh, that makes sense. And then that was it. That was it. That was all for me. There was no more healing, no more anything needed. That's how simple it is, understanding why it happened. So it's like going through gang stalking and just accepting, like, and it took a while, it took a while, even with me knowing the information, it took a while, but just accepting, like, I had to be here because I was needed here. I was needed for a bigger purpose. Don't take it too personally, let it go. And it's now become easier to do that. Do I still need justice to be? Of course. But do I hold on to rage like, I hate you? I was at that point. I was very much at that point. I was holding myself back every time I got on here and talked about it. I was beyond. But I'm just at a point with it now where it's like, I see the bigger picture, and God always talks about seeing things from a higher perspective. You have to experience the things that you're experiencing. Go through the other videos that I have. Let me see if I don't think there's any other points that I have to make. I think the people who are experiencing the karma that they need to experience, the people that are experiencing the hardships and the torture that they are experiencing, they know what they've done. They're sitting with themselves and they're replaying all the things that they've done. So they know why. And they know that all the deals they made, the pacts they made with spirit, all of the above, they know that they did all of these things and they didn't honor them. Things that you don't know, they know about it. So I don't need to know all the gory details anymore. I don't care. I am moving on energetically, healing in every way possible. And so I personally could care less about how it plays out, how it works, etc., etc. I'm gonna pull a crystal card. I always do. This one came out, but if it comes out again, then I'll read it. I love crystals. There's a crystal for everything in this world. Crystals heal. They do multiple things than just what they talk about. Look at this. Malachite. I actually love this stone. This is what it looks like. Malachite. Malachite is an emotional healer. Did I not just talk about forgiveness? The vibration is earthy and high. Breaking outworn or outdated, worn out. Breaking worn out patterns and unwanted ties, especially with people who drain your emotional energy or previous partners. Malachite releases toxic emotions and inhibitions, encouraging free expression of feelings. The release of a previously released emotion may induce a catharsis. Catharsis is like, it feels good. It's like a release. Okay, you will experience catharsis when something has been bothering you, something has been on your chest, and you finally get to like explode and tell the person exactly what it is that you were feeling without holding anything back. It's cathartic. It's like you breathe out, like, okay, you feel lighter. So, the release of a previously repressed emotion may induce catharsis and require additional stones, such as smoky quartz, to calm the situation. Where's my smoky quartz? Okay, my smoky quartz is in its salt right now, but I've showed it before on here. Smoky quartz is good for headaches, psychic attacks, pain on your body, usually to do with your crown. So people sending you emotions and all that, I meditate with it. These kind of stones make you more open to the spirit realm. But smoky quartz is good for nervous energy, anxiety, anything like that. So you just literally have to hold it. It's very powerful. It doesn't actually even need to be in the salt. I just put it in anyway. Malachite alleviates shyness and supports friendships. The stone strengthens the ability to process information, helping to understand difficult concepts. On the body, it supports muscular and immune systems, joints, optic nerve, DNA, cellular structure, liver, and pain receptors. That's why I said malachite is good for pain relief. Like, I'll get psychic attacks that are like shooting pain, and it feels like a sword stabbing, like dropping into your head. You put it on, 5 seconds later, it's gone. It's completely gone. On the spirit, it cleanses the soul, attunes to the angelic realm, strengthens intuition and insight. I probably still have a malachite bracelet. I wear these bracelets. On your malachite bracelet, anything to do with things like intuition or your higher self, you're going to put that on your right arm. That's why I have so many here. You're going to put it on your right arm. Anything to do with protection, grounding, you put on this arm. I also like war stones. Anything to do with like spiritual warfare, fighting, anything like that, I'd put on the left side. So the right side is where you carry light energy, light bodies, and they use it, they connect it. They connect to the energy of the stone and they help you, they work with you. This is the most effective way to have it. And then when you have your stones, you got to clean them ever so often. I have sometimes multiple bracelets of the same thing. I swap in and out. And then you keep it on salt all the time, perpetually, if you are in a spiritual battle. If you are, I also talk to gang stalkers who I encourage to get out and get out now. I'm going to put the name of this in the definition, in the thing of the video. I know, if you're being gang stalked, you're like, gang stalkers are the enemy. These people don't know what they signed up for. They have no idea they're being bound spiritually, blah, blah, blah. See, that's the thing about getting a higher perspective. You're able to understand other people's situations. It is not my place to judge it. God just put me on here. And if I'm on here and it's only gang stalkers on here, then that's who I got to talk to. So it makes people understand their situation a little bit better than they understand it to date. And Whatever it is, it's sinking fast. You might want to get off of the ship. In my city, people do not even respond to getting up to go gang stalk people and do not, they are not coming for that. They're not showing up. They get it. They get it. I'm gonna pull a spirit oracle card. It's a message from spirit. I used to do it. Sometimes I get inconsistent if my message has gone too long. This one says, sit in silence for a moment and listen. The answers you have been seeking are finally coming to you. Truly trust and believe that you're going to make it and be exactly where you need to be. We are on this journey with you. Hang in there. It's not much longer. If you got to get out and fight these people and it takes 2 years is nothing compared to a lifetime. Do you know how I knew that people were in this for life? When they started running out of people my age, they started sending really, really, really old people. And I remember one time I went to make a police report and I was talking to the officer. I'm like, I don't get it. Really old people are coming here. They're like, yeah, you people don't leave this. This is for life. People just, in the beginning, it's fun. In the beginning, the money, the this, the that. But as you settle down, all these things stop meaning anything to you. Like having random sex with people and doing drugs and whatever, like you become more mature, you're more settled. Now you realize the decision that you've made. And this is, you've been there so long that getting out is like, how do you even begin? How do you even begin? They're tied into everything. They are your accountants. They are your lawyers. They are your friends. They're like, you're in. So you got to really like, you got to sit back and you got to focus on what is important to you. If you feel like you can find the resources to help you alleviate the pain that you're going to feel, because they're going to make you feel pain. If you can find the resources that can help you alleviate the pain and you can develop your heart, develop yourself to get out, and you're going to do it with God. You're going to walk with God. God's going to marry you into the family. You're going to become part of a different family spiritually, which means that they cannot marry back to you. Do you have the patience to wait until things improve as they improve? Because you will see improvement. You will see improvement. It's not going to be all at once. You will see it a little at a time. Your trust and your faith is what's needed. Your patience and your discipline is what's needed. Your spiritual family will rejoice to finally have you back, because this blocks your spiritual family from you. Your help, your support, and your protection will be blocked from you from the outside. They can't get in to get you. They can't access you. You got to start. When they say sit in silence, they're talking about meditation. All my other videos have a lot of information. Get onto my homepage of the channel and go look at the playlist. Informational resource is where you want to start if you want a lot of questions. This is a very spiritual live. I have very practical ones. Very practical, grounded information. What is gang stalking? How do you get out? What is a detailed process? I think, how many steps was that? Maybe 10? Maybe 10 steps. A lot of it'll be like things like 10 steps for this, or 10 things you need to know for that, or the doors you need to close, or how do you know when gang stalking started, or so there's practical information, and then I give spiritual tools, healing tools. I will continue to do this far beyond probably when I'm done being gang stalked. I think that was the whole point of me being here, was to break out of it and continue to break it down for people in different ways of what you need to know. This is a very, very tricky situation, but it is definitely breakable. It's definitely possible to break out of it. You need God, you need spiritual help, because they have a lot of spiritual ammunition. And as I talk to you guys, I face a lot of distractions on here today, not so much. But when I first started, oh my God, the distractions, the nonsense I would go through spiritually, I would be attacked because I'm on live. Let me tell you, these people have voodoo dolls of me and all. I could tell. I know they do. They're going to do a lot. So this is why you need heart. Spirits, these energies that need to come get you. Mother is a war goddess. She's a goddess of war. Beyond being very loving, she builds warriors. She builds soldiers. She doesn't build people who cry. In the beginning, you cry. but she builds soldiers that are undefeated. This is why they have an issue with her so bad. And it doesn't matter who you are today. You learn everything on the ground. You get on the ground training. Things will come to you. You will be pointed in the right direction. You will be transitioned from phase to phase. She'll walk you through. She is the patron saint of lost causes. A lost cause. When everything else gave up on you, this is who you call. But this is a lifelong journey. It is for life. You are not going to be built as a soldier. When you're married in the family, it works the same as the other side. You're married. It's permanent. That is also for your protection. When you become strong like this, you become valuable. The people who paid for me to not survive this would love to pay me anything they can to work for them. If you are Apple and you built a phone and you said no one can hack it, do you know these companies, they put out competitions and they say, we have $1 million for any hacker who could hack it. And part of entering it is when you hack it, you got to tell them how you did it. They're probably going to hire you because they don't want your ass out there. They don't want the competitor to get to you first. What is your price? This is how it works in the spirit world. They sent all these bombs at you and you survived. First of all, we want to know how you did it. Secondly, how can we work with you? We don't feel safe with you roaming around out there by yourself. So this is how the marriages will work. Once you get into the spirit world, you got to choose a team. You got to pick a side. There is no free agency out here. You got to pick a side. You're not safe by yourself. You have to pick a side, and it's literally like good versus evil. Like that is how simple it is. It's one side versus the other side. They are always at war. They've always been at war. They will always be at war. They are at war for souls. That is it. You think you want to be on the dark side and you don't. Until you get there and you realize it's a Ponzi scheme. They can't create anything over there. They steal. You get over here, you create, you realize the amount of envy on you constantly. The amount of everybody wants a bit of this light. Everybody wants a bit of your energy. So you have to choose where you're going to be. And once you start that journey, it's forever. So at least you know this up front. Don't put yourself in a dismal situation. You think you're going to walk away. Oh, I just need to get out of gang stalking, but now that I'm here, I'm going to return back to my party lifestyle. No, you're in service now. When you're over there, you're also in service. You just don't know that what you're promoting is of service to something else. You're in service everywhere that you go, and you can't escape it. So if you're going to go on this journey and you're going to open up your eyes, when you light an altar, it is for the rest of your life. The altar remains lit. The altar remains active. These are not the energies that you're going to unlight an altar or you're going to just leave. No, you got to keep going. It is a lifelong, beautiful journey. It's going to be so worth it. You're going to learn so much. And you're going to, if you get in, if you make it, if you pass the test and you make it, you immediately spiritually rank up, not just for yourself, but your ancestors as well. Everybody ranks up spiritually behind you. The same ancestors that have walked with you through this, everybody ranks up. Everything ranks up. A ranking is permanent. It's eternal. You don't come back and like get new ranking every time you reincarnate back here. Rankings are personal. The protection that comes with it, it's always there. It doesn't leave. Even if you don't know it, you're just born, you're a baby, you have no idea. No, it's still there. It's aggressive protection too. I described it as the US government. That's where you want to be. That is the side you want to be on. Let me tell you why. And I explained it in another video. I took down the video. I don't know why I did that, but the US government goes back for dead bodies. The corpses are important to us. That's how serious it is about this protection. That is how serious it is. In order to pass and get in, it means that you die on your post. You're willing to die on your post. That means, because why? You're given blessings that cannot afford to be given to the other side. They give you gifts that you cannot afford to be handed to get into the wrong hands. You will get gifts in your ascension process. You will. You will develop into who you are. Don't think that you're sitting here listening to this for no reason. I don't care what side you were on originally. There's a reason you were drawn to this. There's a reason you were put on this assignment. And there's a reason you're hearing this. This is your call to action. You will get gifted, and they cannot afford for this to be in the wrong hands. So they need to know, how badly are you willing to protect what you're given? And based on how you pass or fail, then you're granted, and you keep leveling up from there. That's how you're put in charge of things. You go down with your ship. You go down with your gifts. You never let people take control of your vessel. You never give it away. So when I say things like don't pray for your enemies and all that, what? These are people trying to kill you and take from God. So you got to keep that in mind. And that's why I don't think this is something that I rush people into. It is a commitment. Every time I pray, I pledge allegiance all the time that I'm going to remain committed to this process. I'm in it. We've gotten so far. The hardest part is over. You've taken the gang stalkers off my ass. I'm walking free. They gotta scramble to catch me here and there. You have put respect on my name. I'm gonna stop now. I didn't even stop back then. If you start on this journey, you're not turning back. You're gonna keep going no matter what happens to you. You just have to make it out alive. We don't care what you make it out with. You're gonna be taken care of. That's how it works. Supplies will be airlifted. They don't care if you make it out broke, with one leg, with one eye. It doesn't matter. You just gotta make it out of the cycle. The cycle is treacherous. You're gonna be guided. You gotta follow instructions. You're gonna lose everything and everyone. That is how you make it out of these kind of crazy cycles. And that is okay, but you gotta stay on the right side of karma, and you gotta stay on, besides God, your spirit team, your ancestors, and you get out of this thing. And when you get out of it, you have no choice of going back. It's burnt behind you. There's no back and forth. And whatever skills you learn while you're in it are the skills that you need to go forward in your life. Is it easy to have a spiritual death while still being alive? It is quite possibly the hardest thing that you have to do. Quite possibly. It is being nailed to the cross. So there is no other way around it. There's no way around it. It's just gonna be brutal. It's gonna be painful. It's gonna be worth it. And you cannot even entertain the idea of stopping. If you entertain that thought, you're gonna slip into it. If you think it once, you're gonna think it twice. You gotta just relax into this process. I've never gotten a tattoo. I've heard it's painful. If you can get a tattoo, it's kind of like that. You gotta get done. Get through it. Anything that's painful, you gotta get through. It's like being in childbirth and saying like, oh, I don't want to fit. It's too late. It's been 9 months. Like, you gotta keep going. That's just where you're gonna be with it. If you are even considering it, if you're listening to it, if you're thinking, it's a bad idea that I do this, whatever the case is, I'm telling you, even the head bosses are considering this right now. You could see when your empire is burning down. So everybody's thinking about this. Everybody, the worst thing is to see the captain jump off the ship. What did he see up there? Is it on fire in that upper deck? Like, what's going on? So this is a message for today. What would be the name of this video? I have no idea, but I guess I'll probably name it that Bob Marley lyric, that your hand becomes strengthened by the hand of the Almighty. That is what you're in here for. You gotta push through. You gotta make it. You gotta make it out. It's not a matter of like how difficult does it feel. You can't focus on the pain. You can't focus on any of that. You just got to focus on your new beginning, on getting out of it, on surviving it. And if you did any sort of dark work on me, well, don't know what to say. Have a great day, guys.